Now carrying on with the chapter life processes, let us take up the first life process that we have to read, that is nutrition. Now why nutrition is required by the living organisms? Nutrition is required for sufficing two things. One is the need for energy. This energy which is required or needed to maintain a state of order in the body. Now in addition to this energy, there are other processes like growth, development and protein synthesis, etc. These are sufficed by certain materials also, that or substances that we take in the form of food. So this energy and all these substances that we require, we get it from this thing which is known as the food. Now different organisms, they have different ways and means of nutrition. Now some organisms like the autotrophs, they are using very simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water, and they are synthesizing carbohydrates. For example, this is done by the green plants and certain bacteria. Now what does this word auto means? Auto means self and troph means nutrition. So these organisms, because they can do the nutritions themselves, they are known as autotrophs. And the other category of organisms, these are known as heterotrophs. Hetero means others. So they are depending on others for nutrition. What do? They take in complex substances. And these complex substances cannot be utilized as such by the organism's body. They have to be broken down into simpler substances. And how that is done? That is done with the help of certain biocatalysts, and these biocatalysts are enzymes. And which are the organisms that come under the category of heterotrophs? These are all animals and the fungi. Now let us take up the autotrophic mode of nutrition that is utilized by the organisms. Now as already I have told you that autotrophic nutrition, it is done by the certain green plants and certain bacteria. Not certain green plants, all green plants. So what do? I already told you they take in simple substances like carbon dioxide, and they take up water, and in the presence of sunlight, and because they are green plants, they are having chlorophyll, they convert it into carbohydrate, that is C6H12O6 plus oxygen plus water, H2O. So if it is 6 carbon dioxide and 12 water, in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, it gets converted into carbohydrate and oxygen and water. Now if they are synthesizing, the plants are synthesizing lot of carbohydrate. Now they are not utilizing all this carbohydrate together. So what do? This carbohydrate is not utilized immediately. It is stored in the form of starch. Now this starch which the plants are storing, this serves as the internal energy reserve, which can be used as and when the plant is requiring it. It's something like it happens in case of human beings. What are we doing? We are eating food, and this food we are eating more than what we are requiring. So it is stored in our body in the form of glycogen. Now how does this process of photosynthesis take place? It takes place by 3 major steps. And what are these 3 steps that it is taking place in? First step is there is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. So there is absorption of light energy by chlorophyll. And the second step is conversion of this light energy into chemical energy and the breakdown of water molecule. So first is conversion of light energy into chemical energy, and there is splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen. So there is photolysis of water into hydrogen and oxygen. So this water molecule, it breaks up into hydrogen and oxygen. Now this is the oxygen that is released through the stomata, and this is the oxygen that we are breathing in. Then what happens to this hydrogen molecule? Now this hydrogen molecule is going to reduce the carbon dioxide into carbohydrates. So the third step is reduction of carbon dioxide into carbohydrates. Now these three steps, now they need not take place immediately one after the other. For example, in case of desert plants, now you know that these desert plants, they lack water. So during the daytime, they will not be opening the stomata, because if they open the stomata, there will a lot of transpiration is going to take place and they are going to lose water. So what do? They take up carbon dioxide at night and they prepare an intermediate which is acted upon by the energy that is absorbed by the chlorophyll during the daytime. So this is how it is completed in the case of desert plants. Now we are talking about the plants taking in carbon dioxide, the plants releasing oxygen. So how is this happening? This is happening with the help of this stomata that are present on the surface of the leaves. Now what do the stomata comprise of? These stomata, they are comprising of two guard cells. And these guard cells, they are surrounded by the epidermal cells they are present around them. And these, they have the nucleus that is present in them, and also the chlorophyll molecules that are present. Now what is happening? The water moves into the guard cells. The guard cells, they swell up, they become turgid and they swell up, and the spore that is within them, the stoma opens. And then the exchange of respiratory gases can take place through this stoma. And when water moves out of the guard cells, they become flaccid. So they become flaccid, and when they become flaccid, the pore between them, it kind of closes. When the pore closes between the guard cells, then the exchange of gases cannot take place. So this is how the stomata, they are opening and closing to facilitate the exchange of gases and also for transpiration. So there are two functions that are being performed by the stomata. One is the exchange of gases and second is transpiration. Now the plant body is very large. So the exchange of gases is not just taking place on the leaf surface. This exchange of gases also takes place across the surface of the stems and the roots as well, in addition to the leaf surface. This is how photosynthesis is taking place in the green plants. But in addition to this, the green plants, they also require other raw materials also. So how do they get this? They get it through the water. This water, which is required during the process of photosynthesis, it is taken up from the soil by the roots in case of terrestrial plants. And there are certain materials like nitrogen, phosphorus, iron and magnesium, which are the macro and micronutrients that are required by the plants. They are taken up from the soil. And you already know that nitrogen is a very essential and important element that is required for the synthesis of proteins and other compounds in the body. So this nitrogen is taken up by the plants in the form of inorganic nitrates and nitrites. You must have read about this in the nitrogen cycle in class 9. And also it has taken up by the atmospheric nitrogen fixation that is done by the bacteria. You remember the rhizobium bacteria that is present in the root nodules of the leguminous plants. So this is how the process of nutrition is completed in case of plants. We'll take up nutrition in heterotrophic nutrition in the next video. Thank you.